Hey YouTube, RP Mino here. Got a video for you, and this is going to be, I wanted to show you a new gun I just purchased, but first I wanted to read a story about the firearm. So if you can bear with me, it's going to take a few minutes, so I hope you stick around to the end to see the weapon. Actually the gun, I don't like calling them weapons because if you don't use them as weapons, they're not weapons. Anyway, so here's the story, and it's about a male nurse that walked to work in Oregon. It says Oregonian Jim Schaefer had growing concerns about the deterioration of the neighborhood between his home and his job. A nurse at a medical clinic, Schaefer's daily walk to work to begin his early morning shift. During drug dealing and reports of assault had made him worried. Though trained in martial arts, Schaefer decided to obtain a right to carry permit. Anxious to avoid trouble, Schaefer takes one route to work in the early morning when street activity is minimal, then another home in the afternoon after activity has increased. And I'm giving you the short version of the story. As he walks to work at 5:30 a.m. one cold Tuesday morning in March of this year, Jim Schaefer's caution was shown to be wholly justified. As he walked, he suddenly heard a rapid thump of running footsteps behind him. Before he could turn around, Schaefer was driven to the ground by two men. The attackers, who were unknown to Schaefer, began hitting and cursing him. Using his martial arts training, Schaefer tried to fend off the blows, but he was outnumbered and on the ground. He protected his head and body, and as best he could from his position. His attackers proved relentless, continuing to punch and shout. Schaefer had his primary arm a Sig Sauer P229 pistol chambered in .40 caliber Smith & Wesson in his holster. The problem was the gun was under two winter coats he was wearing to fend off the early morning cold. Schaefer couldn't get to that gun. Fortunately, he had imagined such a scenario and had gotten into the habit of carrying a second gun, a North American Arms .22 Magnum mini revolver, in his coat pocket. Schaefer grasped the small gun, which was secured in an OEM pocket holster. Schaefer finally worked the gun loose from the holster. He was on his hands and knees with the two men standing over him, pummeling him, when he reached back with the diminutive revolver and fired. I felt I was threatened with my life, then I resorted to the ultimate force, explained Schaefer. One shot struck one of the attackers in the pelvis and both fled. The wounded culprit ran approximately 200 yards before collapsing on the sidewalk. He had been struck near the pelvic artery and his blood pressure had dropped precipitously. The other suspect ran into a nearby home of an acquaintance and called 911. Several witnesses to the attack also summoned emergency services. According to a police spokeswoman, the suspects mistook Schaefer, who was carrying a duffel bag, for a drug dealer and decided to rob him. Police also indicated that the matter seemed to be a clear case of self-defense and no charges were filed against Schaefer. When asked whether the shooting will have much of an impact on crime in the area, Schaefer said, "It's not going to dissuade the bad guys, but I hope it persuades the good guys to think about your security and your self-defense. As for resorting to deadly force to save his own life," Schaefer says, "It's nothing I'm proud of, but nothing I'm ashamed of. I was in a position where I had to defend myself. Thankfully, he had the tools to do so." And the reason I read that is because of all the crap we're going through for our Second Amendment rights. And these are stories that don't make the media. You never hear about them. The media wants to demonize guns and make us out to be bad people. And, why do we need this and why do we need that? So there's an excellent story on why we need all that. And here's the gun that he was carrying. It's actually, his gun didn't have this grip extension. So I just picked this up. And the nice thing is you flip it out like a pocket knife. And then you push, there's a button on each side. And you push it like so, and it covers, makes a trigger guard. Also, if you can see, it's a 5-round cylinder, and the cylinders lock in between, so there's a notch in between each round. So when you have this in your pocket, it can't get snagged and go off, and you can't get to the trigger. But when it's open, it's a single action, so you have to cock it, pull the trigger, cock it, pull the trigger every single time. And to show you how small this gun is, I mean, I can cover it with my hand. And you can see it, I'm trying not to point it at my son. So this is the North American Arms Mini Revolver, and this is the Magnum. And it is also a .22 long rifle. They do sell the Mini Revolver in just Magnum or in just long rifle. So here's what you get with the kit. I don't know if that's in frame. So you get the .22 long rifle cylinder. And then you also get the .22 Magnum cylinder. Set that aside. And then underneath you have an Allen wrench, and that is for taking the handle off. And they do have other options for the handle, and I'll get the book out and show you that in a minute. And then, you know, some literature. You get a lock with it, and the lock is for the case because there's really no way of locking the trigger on this gun. So there's all that. And then these are some of the accessories you can get for the gun, some of the grips. And these are full-size hand grips put on the little gun. And then they make holsters for them as well. Belly bands, ankle holsters, even belt buckles, which I don't know if I'd carry that on a belt buckle. You'd be a big old redneck having that belt buckle on you. And then these are accessories for, you know, North American Arms is making some really cool firearms. And here's what it looks like with the bird's head, bird's beak grip on it, I guess they call it. And then they make a 380 and then some proprietary ammo. So anyway, there's my new gun purchase. And again, that's the full grip in your hand. And the ballistics on these magnums, you can get certain magnums that break apart in 3 pieces and really do some nasty damage. The ammo I'm having this is the Hornady 22 Mag VMAX 30 grain. Oops. And that's what that round looks like with the Teflon tip on it. And those magnums are pretty long in the diameter compared to a long rifle. They're just a little bit bigger diameter. So there's that, and then I was going to have the camera swing, have my son swing the camera over, and you can see how this fits in my pocket. So I wear cargo pants, and just drops into the pocket, and it's gone, and you take it out, and you're ready to go. So, and like, this is just the weapon to get back to your primary. This is your backup, you know, your last resort if you can't get to your primary weapon. If you're having a bag, you can at least have this on you. And I've been carrying this for 4 or 5 days now, and I barely even notice it's in either my coat pocket or in my pants pocket. So there it is, North American Arms 22 caliber 22 Magnum Mini Revolver. So thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and we'll see ya.